Well, we've had the rest of the January 1st, 2026 LEGO Star Wars sets revealed, and in this video, I'm going to be reacting to and discussing these sets, including what I think is at least a contender for the possible worst LEGO Star Wars minifigure of 2026. So let's just dive into all of these new sets. All right, starting things off, we have three new Mandalorian era sets. We have the 75436, the Mandalorian and Grogu speeder bike. It retails for $10 and comes with 58 pieces. Next up is the 75437 Cobb Vanth speeder. It retails for $35 and comes with 207 pieces. Lastly, we have the 75443 Grogu's Homestead, which is going to retail for $20 and comes with 107 pieces. So as you guys can see, we have a new box art style for anything that is based on The Mandalorian, either the TV show or the movie. And I do think it's pretty cool that LEGO now seems to be just differentiating things a little bit more based on the source material or the era. Like yesterday, we saw with the buildable BB-8 sequel sets, we assume going forward are going to now have Kylo Ren on the front of the box with the dark blue stripe that helps dictate that it's part of the Skywalker saga. Now The Mandalorian has a return to that more traditional looking box art style where it's the stripe across the very top of the box, and then you see the Mandalorian and Grogu in the hover pram on the top there, and I think it looks really, really cool. I kind of have this dream now of collecting all of the Mandalorian sets sealed that have this box art style from this time. I think they look super cool all together sealed with just this different box art, because I'm personally pretty excited for the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I hope it is going to be really, really good, but just cool to see a different box art style that we are getting for 2026, probably at least 2027 as well. As far as the Mandalorian and Grogu's speeder bike is concerned, the Mandalorian appears to be that exact same Beskar armored one that we've had for a little while now with the arm printing. As far as I can tell, there's no update to the printing detail at all. It appears to be the same, but it's a really good minifig, so I'm not upset that there isn't an update or anything to his design. We have Grogu, of course, and then the speeder bike build, which looks pretty good as well. And for $10, I get that the price per piece ratio is not fantastic at all, but I'm trying to look at it as for $10, this is the cheapest set we've had in a very long time that actually has minifigs in it that is a little bit more accessible. Like, this set is cheaper than a microfighter and it's cheaper than a mech, and I personally prefer this concept for a small build and then like two minifigs in it for $10 over a mech or over a microfighter, which I'm not a fan of microfighters at all. So I think this is a better concept that I'd like to see from LEGO going forward. A couple of sets here and there that maybe contain two minifigs in it and a small build for $10. I would personally rather see that than more mechs. Moving on to Cobb Vanth's speeder, and this set isn't based on like one single scene or episode. It's based on more of the arc as an entirety with Cobb Vanth, but personally I think the concept works really well for a LEGO set. You have Cobb Vanth, who has the Boba Fett armor on, and he looks really great. I'm super excited to actually get him as a minifig now. And then you have Cad Bane, which you don't get that often in LEGO Star Wars sets, and I think that's kind of why I assume probably the concept behind this set was like, all right, let's include Cobb Vanth in something. Let's do his speeder bike as the build. But then what's the other minifig we're going to include? Well, he does dual Cad Bane, so let's just include Cad Bane in it because he's kind of a rarer minifig, a rarer character, and that way it makes for a great versus set, even though it's not totally accurate to one specific scene. But personally, I think the concept works really well. Can we just take one more moment to appreciate how fantastic Cobb Vanth looks? The face print is awesome, but then the Boba Fett armor that he is wearing is so battle worn and scarred up. It's got barely any actual paint on it, and it looks amazing on the torso especially, and then the helmet as well. It looks really, really good. This, to me, I think is going to be one of my favorite minifigures of 2026. I think they did an absolutely amazing job with it. I've gone back and just I'm looking at his character and I'm just like, this minifig is amazing. They did a really brilliant job, at least in my opinion. And then this Cad Bane is the first one ever to also get arm printing, which I think is so important to his character because he has all the controls on his arm that he uses. So to actually have that detail done for the arms, to me, I think is really awesome. So this set, I think the minifigs are absolutely incredible. I'm super excited for this one. The $35 price point, though, definitely feels a bit steep. The speeder bike looks great. It does include some larger pieces, but to me, I'm not sure about the value on that one, but I'm kind of reserving my full opinion on the price point for these until I actually get them in hand and make my review on the channel. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see all of these reviews once these sets release. But the minifigs, at least to me, are certainly a massive highlight for this one. I think they're both really, really awesome. Cobb Vanth looks amazing, and then Cad Bane finally getting arm printing. I'm personally really excited for that. And then we have Grogu's Homestead, and 4+ sets to me, I really have no interest in them. The builds are always a little bit wonky, and they're designed for 4-year-olds and up. So they're sets that I just don't generally pay that much attention to. Only case I would is like the Mando and Grogu's N1 Starfighter, which had R5D4 in it. That's a set I haven't gotten yet, but I need to because I want R5 as part of my Mandalorian minifigure collection for that astromech droid. But otherwise, I mean, they're just kind of kiddie sets that they're meant for a purpose, right? They're designed with that purpose for younger kids, obviously in mind. But this one, I have to admit, does look pretty cute. For a 4+ set, you can't really expect Grogu to look that great, and 4-year-olds aren't going to care either, right? But this is one that I feel like I kind of want to get and just keep sealed. The sentimental part of me is like my kid maybe one day when I show them the Mandalorian and kind of introduce them to Grogu and Mando. Hopefully that's still going on by the time that happens, but this could be a cool set to have sealed and then to be like, hey, when he or she turns 4, give it to them sealed. I think that could be really cool. You know, that's kind of where my mind goes with this set, at least. I just think it's cute and it's a cool concept, fun for play. 4+ sets are always, you know, priced. They feel pretty heavily priced. They include larger pieces, all printed pieces, yes. So the $20 price point, I don't think is anything surprising, to say the least, for this one, but I do think it is pretty cute for being a 4+ set. All right, leaving those Mandalorian sets behind and moving on to our next set, the 75448 Clone Shock Trooper Mech, which retails for $15 and comes with 151 pieces. Now, price per piece is actually pretty bang on too. That's 10 cents per piece, kind of price point that people tend to look for when considering price per piece. But going back to what I was saying about the Mandalorian and Grogu's speeder bike for $10, I personally prefer that concept over Mechs. Mechs I just am not interested in. I think I've gotten the Luke Skywalker mech to make one comparison video between the UCS version and the one that was released in that set. But otherwise, mechs are sets that I just don't really have much interest in, if I'm being totally honest. It looks fine for a Shock Trooper mech, you know. Lego's making clone shock troopers, it just makes sense that then they'd probably make a mech based on one as well. So I definitely don't think at $15 for one, it's great for army building, but it's just another cool concept. And for those who like mechs, I feel like you'll probably like this one. But like I said, I'm not someone who really cares or knows that much about mechs. So to me, it's fine. Let's just move on. And now moving on to the set that I really want to discuss, the main subject of this video, the 75449 Seige of Mandalore Battle Pack, which retails for $23 and comes with 116 pieces. So let's get right on into it. When early versions of, or I guess just they ended up being the same, when the Mandalorian Super Commandos kind of leaked early, the community saw the visors were silver, not black. And of course, a lot of people, I think rightly so, were questioning that decision. And I was extremely disappointed when I saw these silver visors. And I had like a 2% hope that wouldn't be the case and they were an early preliminary version, but it certainly ended up not being the case. I definitely had a feeling that these were going to be the end result that we were going to get. Now, accuracy to the source material to me is what I value the most. It trumps everything else. So when I saw these silver visors, I just went, oh no, they've ruined these Super Commandos, and it just instantly made the set just a total kind of flop, in my opinion. Now, objectively, I do think the Mandalorian Super Commando Warrior with the silver visor actually looks kind of cool. It's definitely grown on me the more I've kind of seen it, and now that we have the official images as well. But the Night Owl, I came into this video knowing I would make it when LEGO officially unveiled the sets. I came into this video prepared to call this a contender for the worst minifig of 2026. But in preparing to kind of tear it apart a bit and really, question and criticize this decision, to make the visor silver. I went back and watched the Siege of Mandalore in live action from Ahsoka. I went back and watched the Siege of Mandalore from the Clone Wars and really tried to look at every instance where you see a Super Commando on screen to try and make sense of this decision. And during kind of the ending part of the Siege of Mandalore, when the clones have won, they're arresting all of these Super Commandos, all of the Mandalorians. You see there's one who is lying down, taking a nap. The visor is silver, but that could be a bit of a lighting trick. And then you see some of them that are being arrested. They're actually kind of more on the ground. They're bent over. You see a warrior and a night owl, and both of their visors are silver. So then I kind of thought, okay, you see their heads moving around a bit. You don't see any reflection going on there. So is that actually a just flat out silver visor instead, because you don't see the black that kind of comes in where you get that brief bit of reflection from the angle of the way their heads are facing. But then if you look to the other side, there's another warrior who's on the ground and his visor is silver, but then when he kind of gets more upright, it goes back to black. So kind of what I think happened here is that you see the Mandalorian Super Commandos in the Clone Wars with the more silver visors, but I do think it is a lighting kind of trick that the animators had going on, where when they're kind of more facing towards the ground, you are seeing them in this silver way. But then when the other one kind of gets a little bit more upright, you see the visor. To me, it definitely looks like it goes back to black, indicating that that is just a change with the lighting. So I think they used this source material as a reference to make that decision to make them silver. However, I still don't think it was the right call. It at least justifies it like another 10-15% more in my opinion, because you do get a look at them like that in the Clone Wars. But still, I don't think the right call was making it based off of something you briefly see near the end, when in the vast majority of the shots that you have, their visors are black. It's like, why would you make a change that could be perceived as controversial when in pretty much every look that you have of them, and it just is one that, again, it's not 100% accurate. It's accurate under certain circumstances, which is just, yeah, it's weird. So I'm pretty disappointed. I still don't think the Night Owl looks that great. Do I think it's a contender for the worst minifig of 2026? I mean, so far it is, but I'm not quite as, I'm not quite as passionate about that as I was prepared to be before I kind of found and rewatched it and really tried to study the scenes and every angle that you have of this. And I haven't really seen it discussed too much online as to, you do get some pretty good shots of them with this way, but I feel like it's something that, again, they should have just made them black. They should have just made them black. I see it a little bit, but I still don't think it was the right call at all, because why would you make it based off of something you see for like 5-6 seconds on screen time versus what you see the rest of the time, right? It still doesn't make that much sense to me, but at least there are angles you see. You guys, I feel like, will get what I'm trying to say here. So now the rest of the Super Commandos I think look fine. I'm going to save my real in-depth comparison to the source material on the armor detailing for the review when that comes out, and then the 332nd Troopers are what you should expect, the same ones we have gotten for a little while now. And as far as the builds go, I do think they are okay for a battle pack. The Super Commando Speeder is by far the better version of the two that you get. The Speeder actually looks pretty cool with the all black and red color scheme on it. And then the clone build that you get, it's like a fence with a stud shooter on it and a crate. It's pretty boring to me, very basic. I don't know. I feel like there was a lot more effort put into the vehicle for the Super Commandos over just the little barrier. I just wish they could have done something a little bit more creative and cool to kind of even that part out, because if you buy multiples of these, multiple speeders is cool. Multiple little fences with a stud shooter, it doesn't have the same kind of, getting multiples of those doesn't feel the same as getting multiple speeders. So the builds, one is clearly, I think, a lot better than the other. So anyways, that's my thoughts on the Siege of Mandalore battle pack. I'm definitely not quite as frustrated as I was before I kind of started preparing to make this reaction video. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, if they would have just made the visors black, there would have been no controversy. No one would question it, because that's what you would have come to expect. History, what you see them in the vast majority of the time. And then certainly me showing those angles of them appearing a lot more silver, or more, steadily silver, at least not just a brief reflection, is more me just trying to get down to the why. It's like, okay, they made them silver. why did they decide to do that? Where is there maybe, you know, an indicator of, okay, this could be why they decided to make that. I'm not trying to justify that decision. You know, everyone's got to make their own opinion on whether or not they think that looks good or not. I don't think it was the right call. Even if they would have made the Night Owl's visor black and left the Warrior's silver, that at least would look better, because the way the Night Owl's helmet is, you have the silver around the visor and then just the outline of it kind of looks like a misprint, or it's unfinished because it's just like drawn or painted on. So to me, at least, if they would have made that one black even and then left the Warrior silver, I would have been like, okay, you know, it makes a little bit more sense, and like it kind of, the one that looks certainly worse in my opinion wouldn't look as bad, at least. You know what I mean? So that's how I feel about all of, you know, this kind of controversy around this Siege of Mandalore battle pack and all of the January 1st sets. I did make another reaction video talking about the AT-AT, the Venator, and BB-8, which I have also heard now that all of the pieces in those sets are apparently printed. So a massive kudos to LEGO for actually printing all of those. Like the joint pieces on the AT-AT, those are not stickers, they're printed pieces. Same with the Venator. So all of those should look absolutely incredible, and it makes me even more excited to get those sets and build them and review them on my channel. It's going to be a busy couple of weeks to start January off because there are a lot of sets releasing, but I'm super excited to make reviews on all of them. And let me know in the comments, you guys, if you do enjoy these more reaction style news videos. They're fun to make, and I can keep making them on the channel as well, just to give my take, my personal opinion on everything. And let me know how you guys feel about all of these sets down in those comments as well. And if you want to support the LEGO Star Wars videos that I make, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It's the best way to support it and help support the videos that I make and keep the channel certainly going. As always, thank you so much for watching. My name is Justin, and I'll see you guys on the next LEGO Star Wars video on Obi-Wan Studios.